Hey guys, and welcome back to Coast to Coast. Today we're exploring one of Kentucky's most iconic things, bourbon. So what you need to do is pull out a glass and then pour in some bourbon. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Coast to Coast. Today we're going to be cruising down to Kentucky to explore one of its most iconic dishes, fried chicken. This is a pretty simple recipe, something that can be made on a weeknight. Using your best ninja skills, crack 4 eggs and whisk in a half a cup of milk. In the next bowl, mix in a cup of flour with a tablespoon each, garlic salt, black pepper, and paprika. Mix everything together thoroughly and get ready to roll our chicken around. For those of you that are new to cooking, the egg wash really helps that flour mixture stick to the chicken so it doesn't just fall off. Make sure to use wet hand, dry hand. That means only one hand will be used to handle the egg wash and the other hand will be used to handle the flour. Continue this process until all your pieces of chicken are breaded and we're ready to start frying. Put a pot on the stove and fill with about 2 to 3 inches of oil. I'm using vegetable oil, but you can use canola oil or peanut oil as well. A candy thermometer works really well for this. You just clip it on the side and heat the oil to 350. Start dropping in your pieces of chicken one at a time, being very careful not to burn yourself. Fry these for about 12 minutes, occasionally moving them around in the oil. Then when they're done, transfer to a wire rack to let cool for a few minutes. Like I said before, this is a pretty simple recipe, and while this was much better than getting takeout, it still didn't really blow my socks off. On top of that, I want to talk about beer, because I paired this thing up with an IPA, and that is definitely not the way to go. Pairing beer with fried chicken is all about finding balance. And despite its greasy reputation, properly prepared fried chicken has a wonderfully moist center and a crisp, crunchy crust. Try saying that 3 times. Anyway, the aggressively bitter and citrus flavors that you get from an IPA just don't pair well with the chicken. So I think it's time to step up our southern fried chicken game and make Kentucky proud. And this time, we're going to start with a whole chicken. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. Break down a chicken. But for this, we're going to want a 10-piece chicken. Start by removing the wings, and then the leg and thigh is one piece. It's easier to separate those when they're not on the bird. Then I like to remove the backbone, which makes it easier to split the breast. And after separating the leg and the thigh at the joint, you might be saying, hey, that's only 8 pieces. I thought you said 10. This is where splitting the breast in half make all of the pieces we're about to fry about the same size, subsequently cooking in the same time frame. Be sure to have one of your favorite craft beers on hand and pour some buttermilk in a bowl as we get ready for our buttermilk brine. This salty herbaceous buttermilk bath is what's going to make grandma's eyes roll in the back of her head. Anyways, to this bowl add a 1/4 cup of kosher salt, 1/4 cup of sugar, a couple cloves of garlic, all minced up, and a tablespoon of your favorite hot sauce. Now for the herbaceous part. Add a couple sprigs of thyme, rosemary, and sage, being sure to give them a good spank before you throw them in there. This helps to draw out some of the natural oil inside the herbs. To bring a nice citrusy note to this chicken, zest and juice 2 lemons, using a strainer to keep the seeds out, and a really cool trick using tongs to save your hands. Now mix all that together and start placing all your chicken in a Ziploc bag so we can brine it overnight. And yes, this is more than one whole chicken. I thought this was a great opportunity to have a few friends over on a Sunday afternoon. Pour the brine all over the chicken and refrigerate for a minimum of 12 hours, preferably 24. Alright. Well, here we are, 24 hours later. Let's grab a pan and add a couple cups of flour, about 2 tablespoons each onion powder, garlic powder, and smoked paprika, about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a very healthy dose of black pepper. Be sure to give those arms a good workout. Once again, bringing a pot of oil up to 350 degrees while we work on breading our chicken. This time we don't need to use an egg wash because the chicken's already been marinating in buttermilk. Just roll it around in the seasoned flour and start dropping the pieces into the hot oil, cooking it about 4 or 5 pieces at a time. After they're nice and golden brown, place on a wire rack to cool for about 5 minutes. If you get a chance to try this recipe, leave your comments below. I gotta say though, this is pretty epic. Buttermilk soak made the chicken inside so moist and tender, with a super crispy, flavorful exterior. Now we talked about beer pairing before, and I would highly recommend the Eclipse Brown Ale by Great Flood Brewing Company in Louisville, Kentucky. Together with the crisp chicken exterior and the medium-bodied malt-forward brown ale, these two were definitely a match made in Southern heaven.